Have you ever wondered, do Honoka fans like Chika? And vice versa? How about if you like Ellie, do you like the other student council presidents? Or if you like Nico, do you tend to like Kasumi? So it was my goal to answer all of these questions, and how am I possibly going to do that? Of course, the answer is going to be using a poll. So what I created was this thing that I called the Love Life Relations poll, for at least a lack of a better term, because I wasn't sure what to call it. And it's going to look like this. I had you guys vote. You can answer with your demographics, but then the main meat of it is going to be here. I asked you guys to rank the girls from every single group, 1 through 9, 1 being your favorite, 9 being your least favorite. So you can do this for Muse. Then we had the subunits as well past that. Then do it for Aqours, Nijigaku, and Liella. So you can go run it through it and answer a bunch of questions. But past that, I also asked you a series of different questions that I could also use to further analyze some of the other elements of girls that might manipulate how you like the girls or not. So some of the questions will be like, just rank the groups in general, 1 through 4 Muse to Liella, and what qualities do you prioritize in girls? What are some reasons why you might like a girl? Maybe like her because you really like their voice, or you like it because you think they look pretty, or you like them because they had one of your favorite moments in the anime, things like that. So I asked you for your top 3 of those. It'll be things like, what's your favorite color? If your favorite color is red, you tend to like girls who have their image color being red, like Daya or Setsuna, and such. So that's the basic idea, is to have a bunch of these things together. So with that, I was able to generate some results, and I'm going to try to answer some of the questions based on some relations you think you might see, like, do Honoka fans like Chika, and whatnot. So first and foremost, before I go over the results, I'm going to go and give you the raw data. The raw data just be focusing on strictly reporting the results without doing any significant analysis. So I'll be going over each group and tell you how the girls rank from each group from 1 through X, depending on how many girls are in that unit. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into those before we get into the further detailed analysis of each girl. First up, we gotta start with Muse. So 9th place goes to Hanayo, 8th place goes to Nico, 7th place goes to Rin, 6th place goes to Nozomi, 5th goes to Eli, 4th goes to Honoka, 3rd goes to Kotori, 2nd goes to Maki, and 1st place goes to Umi Sonoda. These weren't exactly the results that I was expecting, but here are the full results for you to look at. So I have accumulated all the 1st places, 2nd places, all the way through 9 places for each girl, as well as I have the rankings for the subunits. So just as a note, yellow means the best in the category, silver means the 2nd best in the category, bronze means 3rd best, highlight red usually means they do pretty bad in the category, usually the worst, depending on how many numbers are, and usually deep red is like the absolute worst. So of course Hanayo never has been popular, she's kind of dead last in a lot of categories. Then we have Nico. There's a lot of people who don't really like her, and there's other people who tend to like her, usually the younger audience. So that's kind of just the trend for her. Rin doing a little worse than usual. She did pretty well in some categories, but overall kind of fell flat. Then we have Nozomi, a little worse than I expect her, because especially she got 3rd most first place votes. So this is a little worse than usual. Ellie got 5th, is just a little lower than usual, but not too bad. Honoka got 4th, which actually is a lot better than she usually does. People tend to usually put her towards the back, so I'm a little surprised that she jumped up this high. And we have 3rd place, which goes to Kotori. That's pretty standard. 2nd goes to Maki. Usually she fights for 1st, or sometimes gets 2nd place. You can see she won many categories. And Umi actually got 1st place overall, which is a little higher than usual, but you know, that's good for her. And of course for the subunits, we have Lily White actually being the favorite, which I found a little bit higher than usual, but usually it's BB that's been the favorite. But those two have usually been kind of close. And then there's the 3rd subunit, Pronton. Yeah, that's usually been the least favorite. Of course, feel free to pause and analyze this as much as you want, but this is going to be way too long if I try to discuss this in really big detail, since I have so much more to go over, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave it at that. Jumping to Aqours, 9th place goes to Ruby, 8th place goes to Kanon, 7th place goes to Daya, 6th place goes to Rico, 5th place goes to Mari, 4th place goes to Chika, 3rd place goes to Yo, 2nd place goes to Hanamaru, and 1st place goes to Yoshiko, or Yohane if you will. overall, there was nothing too surprising in terms of results. Ruby's just not popular. She's kind of been last place. And Kanon, again, usually the one who's also fighting last place with Ruby. Then we have 7, Dia. That's a little lower than usual, but not too far out in the ordinary. Rico being 6, kind of usually where it is. Usually liked by males, not so much by females. Then we have Mari getting 5th. That's a little lower than she usually tends to get. Chika getting 4th is actually kind of high for her. She's usually fighting around 7, 8 plays. And we have Yo in 3rd. That's usually pretty standard for her. 2nd place for Hanamaru. That's a little higher than usual. Usually more like a 4th place kind of deal. And then we have Yoshiko, of course, dominating because, you know, it's Yoshiko. She's clearly the favorite. Though she didn't win by a huge margin this time. But, you know, people like Yoshiko the most. It's pretty obvious, especially if you can see the amount of 1st places, 2nd places, and 3rd places that she got. And then, of course, we have subunits. Of course, Guilty Kiss is the favorite subunit. That really shouldn't be a surprise. Azalea is the 2nd one, and Shannon's the 3rd. Again, none of this should be a surprise. That's usually been pretty clear to the amount of views and how much people talk about each subunit. For Nijigaku, we have you going 13, 12 goes to Kana, 11 goes to Emma, 10th place goes to Miya, 9th place goes to Ayumu, 8th place goes to Ai, 7th place goes to Kasumi, 6th goes to Ranju, 5th goes to Shizuku, 4th goes to Shiriko, 3rd place goes to Kanata, 2nd goes to Rina, and 1st place goes to Setsuna. Let's go! But overall results kind of seems pretty standard. All defaults, so 13th place kind of makes sense. She's not really an idol, really. Kanon and Emma, yeah, they haven't really been that popular. Ai, again, also has been really popular, especially because the debacle they had to deal with. Also, story-wise, that's really hurt their image a lot. Ayumu fell off after season 1 because, you know, the yandere moment. And the rest seems pretty standard for at least what I've seen. We gotta see Kanata a little higher up in 3rd, which I'm happy about. And I know a lot of my fans, or people who at least voted my polls, tend to really like Rina a lot. She's kind of been the favorite. But, you know, Setsuna is just a popular character, period. Males like her a lot. So it kind of makes sense that Setsuna does pretty well overall. In terms of subunits, definitely it's really interesting because Rebirth finally started getting more songs than, you know, just Monster Girls. So it's curious to see where they would place. Quartz is still the favorite. That's kind of been the case for a while. So Rebirth actually takes 2nd place, which is interesting to see. And with some of the new songs, especially Look At Me Now, that's one I've definitely been jamming to a lot. Diva takes 3rd and Azuna takes 4th. Yeah, I kind of expected that for Azuna, unfortunately. And now we go to Liella. In 9th place we got Natsumi, 8th place goes to Mei, 7th place goes to Shiki, 6th place goes to Kinako, 5th place goes to Ren, 4th place goes to Kuku, 3rd place goes to Chisato, 2nd place goes to Sumine, and 1st place goes to Kanon. Now keep in mind, a lot of the voters voted before season 2 of Superstar, so I feel that might construe the results a little bit, where it's a little unfair to the first years, or at least the first years in season 2, should I say. So of course, Natsumi is still in last place. People just don't really like her, and the season really didn't change it, or at least convince people that they're right about not being super happy about her. Mei getting 8th, that's kind of probably off, because Mei was really decent in the anime. People tend to really like her. 7th goes to Shiki, that's about where she's kind of been. Kindergarten 6, that's also where she's kind of been. Ren at 5th is a little high for her. I'm happy for her, but I'm assuming she's going to fall down, especially because once they learn more about the first years, she would definitely fall down. Kuku in 4th, that's also getting a little high. Then we have Chisa in 3rd, that seems about right. Sumine getting 2nd, yeah, that makes sense. And Kanon win 1st, yeah, because she's just the favorite. And Superstar, and there's not really any debate to that at all. And there's no subunits, so that's all I got for this. But on top of that, there are some general raw data, as I talked about. So I asked you guys to rank their groups, 1 through 4. What's the favorite group? And the favorite group is Aqours. Like, that surprises anybody, because that's the group that's been here the longest. Has a lot of songs. It's been here for such a long time. They had so much content out. And a lot of people that are still watching today are still fans during the era of Aqours. So it makes sense that it's got first. there's a lot of people from Muse that are still hanging out, but Liella's the newest, so I guess getting fourth kind of makes sense. In terms of qualities that people prioritize in girls, well, personality seems to be the most dominant factor, and hopefully, I mean, that's kind of important for a lot of people, and you know, that definitely shapes whether you like the girl or not. The second one was the story moments or anime moments that really affect how people like her, and voice being the third most, and the least important is unofficial content, which I think that makes sense. But overall, this is definitely interesting to see. In terms of favorite colors, the favorite color of you guys was blue. That's people's most favorite color, and it's by a pretty decent margin. 19%, almost 20% of you guys said blue was your favorite color. Second most was going to be then purple, and then third would be pink. So you can see the rankings there if you're curious to see. Your least favorite color out of all them, or the least amount of people said their favorite color, would be brown with just 3 votes. So that's not very popular overall. Yeah, brown is kind of a not exactly the best color, especially if you did it for a girl. But we'll have to see if they add a brown one. And then I also decided to do year rankings. I added all the votes for each year, and I had to go all the way 13th because Nijigaku, so that's why you're going to see a heck of a lot less votes there. And overall, the favorite years is going to be the second years, and I guess that kind of makes sense because usually that's where the leader is. That's kind of where the story starts. The second years are the ones who are always starting the groups. They get a good amount more focus and more senators, maybe because of the leader and all. But I guess that makes sense though, because that's where a lot of the story and content comes from. The second place went to first years, and then third place was last overall. So that was just all of the raw data that I have. So now we are finally be able to look at the relations part that I mentioned earlier. So let's go ahead and jump to Ellie, the first one I have on my list. So we need to talk about how this is going to be handled and what kind of questions can we ask. So here are some sample questions that I try to come up with, and I will be answering in this video. And I won't necessarily do this for every single girl, especially the ones that kind of overlap and I kind of already answered from other girls. But I'm definitely going to try and answer as many that I can think of, as well as comments that you guys have. So for example, what do Eli fans like? Do Eli fans like Nozomi? Or, you know, we know she's a student council president, so do people who like Ellie like other student council presidents because they like student council presidents? Do people who like Ellie like blondes? Is that a trend that people tend to like? How about blue image color girls? Because we know her color is kind of a light blue, but you know, blue in general. Do people who like Ellie tend to like 30s in general, and people tend to have that kind of correlation? So there's a buttload of correlations that we can try to make from here, and of course there are more that I can't think of every single one out there. But that's definitely some of the questions I would be trying to answer. So how am I going to do this? Well, I'm going to go ahead and show you my Google Sheet, and that's how I kind of got all this data. So this is the Google Sheet where I host all my data. This is where I do my analysis, all that fun stuff, all the stuff behind the scene. That's how I get all of my data. So I can tell you how to use this. I'll try to make this publicly available, give you a copy of this, so if you wanted to mess around with the data yourself, you can. But I'll probably say that for the end. But I'm going to try to show you more of the process of how this works, so you guys get a better understanding of how I got my data. So I have my multiple tabs here. You know, I got my all groups tab. This is where I showed you earlier. This is just the pure raw data being reported in all categories. But this is where the relations part of the poll in the single character thing comes in, and how I analyze and make these claims that I've seen, where I get all these trends. So the basic idea is I'm trying to take the favorites of each character, and based on the people who seem to like a character, what trends can I see? So this, for example, we're going to start with Ellie Isa's, and we're going to take her top 3. Why top 3? It's a top 1/3% for most groups. You know, it's not the case for Nijigaku because they have 13 members, but it's a good break point where, you know, generally if they're a top 3 character for you, tend to like them a lot. 4 through 6 more like kind of like meh, or you like them, but they're kind of more in the middle, and obviously 7 to 9 is the ones you don't like so much. So the idea is, for example, if we're going to take the top 3 for Ellie, I'm going to take any vote that said Ellie is going to be first place, second place, or third place. any votes beneath that will be completely ignored for this terms of analysis. So the way I have it working, as you can see, especially here, you get to see Ellie. I see top 3 votes, first, second, and third, and only those ones. So of course, if you were to take a look at her average, she has an astounding average for here, which is way better than her 5th place that she actually got. But this is only looking at her results that are from people who seem to really like her. So by using only those voters for the rest of the poll is where I get to draw my analysis. So for example, you see I have selected Ellie in my target, and there's 230 votes. I believe there's 716 votes, which means she gets about 32% of the votes here. So with that, you can start to look at, well, if you like Ellie, who else do you tend to like? Like Maki, you can see she's in 2nd place. But looking at, you know, the raw percentages or the averages, I don't think is the most telling, because, you know, you still might, people who might like Ellie still tend to like who's ever in 1st place overall. So that doesn't always necessarily have the best way to look at it. So I highly recommend looking at the average differences. The average here and the overall average is straight up just the average from the poll. So the favorite, for example, was Umi. But if you notice, she has fallen all the way to 3rd place. And why is that? Well, because there's other characters who greatly improved. Of course, Ellie's going to get 1st place for this poll. But notably, Maki gets 2nd place. So we get to see people who like Ellie tend to like Maki, especially because if you see here, there's an improvement based on her poll. Negative meaning good, as her average has dropped in terms of this difference. While if you see something that's positive, that means they gained when I took out all the not top 3 votes for Ellie. So if you see a positive number like 0.6, that means on average Ellie fans tend to like that character less. So for example, Eli Fans don't like Hanayo as much, and Honoka. And again, this is a generalization, but on average, if you like Ellie, you probably don't like these girls. And notably, Eli Fans don't like Rin. There is a big +1 average here. So as you can see, they don't tend to like her. So that's the kind of idea, and you can definitely carry this to other groups. So if you voted Ellie in top 3, how would you vote in the other groups? So you can definitely see, oh, the big improvement, for example, is Kanon. You know, she's still averaging 8th, but Ellie fans like Kanon more on average than the rest of the population. But on average, people still don't really like Kanon that much in the Ellie fan base. So you can see there's an improvement there. Yoshiko is still the favorite amongst Ellie fans here, but you can see the average is a little worse. So you can take what you will from these averages, but for example, you can see if you're a fan of Ellie, you're also a fan of Guilty Kiss. Slight improvement, but you tend to be a little bit more of a fan of Azalea, for example. So that's the kind of idea with this poll, and with this I can switch whoever I want, so I can take a look at Hanayo or whatever character, and it will filter it out. This was such a pain to set up. I won't bore you with too much of this and show you every single one, but that's the kind of idea what I have here. I'll just post you guys images and do my analysis, as well as talking about some relations. You can see, for example, there are other statistics that I look at. You know, why did I ask you for males? For example, females on average tend to vote more to like Ellie than males when you compare it to the general population. We see Ellie's on fans on average like blue, with a little increase in people saying that Ellie is blue is their favorite color for people who voted Ellie in top 3. While you can see that teal is definitely one not so much. So that's the kind of general gist of how it works. And again, I could probably talk to you later about how you guys can go spend your time and analyzing and looking at certain trends that you're curious to see as well. So here I have the voters that voted for top 3 for Ellie, and we can definitely see some trends based on Ellie fans. So for notable is Maki is going to be the one notable thing, is that Ellie fans tend to do like Maki. She was the most improved beyond Ellie because obviously, and we also got to see that Umi a little improved, but nothing too significant. On the other hand, things that are much worse, Ellie fans don't really tend to like Rin that much, as well as Hanayo and Honoka and Kotori as well. And Nico also falls in that category as well. The thing that we did get to see about equal is Nozomi. So if you tend to like Ellie, you don't really have a big impact on Nozomi. And in terms of subunits, if you like Ellie, chances are you're gonna like B because that's the subunit she's in. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. So let's go ahead and jump to Aqours, which will be a little more interesting. So for Ellie, well, we have a blonde girl and we also have a student council president. Are those going to be correlated? And if you can see, the answer is in at least this section, yes. If you like Ellie, you tend to like Daya a bit more than average, and Mari as well on average. So we get to see that maybe there is a trend with blonde girls, maybe there is a trend with student council presidents, but also in 30s in general, because notably Kanon is the most improved in this category. In terms of girls that are blue, we see Yo, and we get to see Yo does a little worse for Eli Fans. Other notable things is that you tend to like Guilty Kiss a little bit more, but the thing that notably did improve the most was Kanon, although she's still 8th overall. But there is a bit of a jump amongst Eli Fans as compared to the average. In terms for Nijigaku, well, again, who's the student council president? That's Setsuna and Shiriko. So we get to see an improvement in both categories. And in terms of blue, we have Kanon and Cardin and Shizuku, which both seem to have a little bit of an uptake in terms of the differences in averages. So that definitely seems to be a bit of an improvement, and there definitely seems to be a little bit of a trend there. In terms of blonde hair, we do have but she did worse on average compared to, the standard. So not everything necessarily seems to correlate with there, but there definitely seems to be some basic trends, especially in terms of like personality and certain roles that they play seem to affect whether people like certain characters. So student council president seems to be a pretty good trend, and Eli Fans seem to like Rebirth. So of course, last but not least, we have Liella to look at, and of course the student council president was Ren, and she also has a color of blue, which means chances if you like Ellie, you're going to like Ren a little bit more. And she definitely seems to fill that kind of role. And that makes sense. If you tend to like Ellie-like characters will tend to be boosted. We do know that there are some blonde-haired girls here. Sumida is blonde. There wasn't really much of an average difference. That's a kind of blonde. But no, there wasn't really notable improvement in there. And Cuckoo's a little bit closer in terms of color, but the average difference shows it's a little worse overall. As for the other sections, there was nothing too notably different in terms of the qualities that people seem to prioritize. In the following section, we had the demographics. It looks like you're more likely to be female and the 26 to 30 year olds. If you like Ellie, you tend to like Aqours a little bit more than the average if you are an Ellie fan, which I guess that's interesting to see as well. And then for year rankings, if you like Ellie, you tend to like third years more. You tend to like first years a little bit less. And then of course, in terms of colors, if you like Ellie, chances are you like blue more on average, while you tend to like teal less on average. So based on what I saw, Eli Fans don't really seem to like Nozomi more than others. There definitely seems to be a trend with student council presidents. If you like one, you like the others. If you like blondes, you probably like other blondes, but it's not a guarantee. Probably personality is a little bit more important. If you like blue image girls, will you like other ones? Maybe. You might like darker, you might like light, but it's not a huge correlation that I've seen. And if you like third years, chances are you might like other third years because they kind of generally have similar personalities and roles in the anime. So next up, we're going to go over Hanayo, and here are a few of the questions that I could think of off the top of my head of questions to be answered for her. So, for example, do Hanayo fans like Rin? Do Hanayo fans like Hanamaru? How about some other green image color girls, maybe like Emma, for example? Do they like first years in general? And since Hanayo is a higher pitched character in terms of voice, do people seem to like other high pitched voices, as well as the groups that really personified Prontop and Shannon? And do people like underdogs because she doesn't do so well? If you look at the rankings, Hanayo, of course, did pretty well here because this is only her top roles. But there are some definitely stark differences based on Hanayo fans. For example, Maki gets absolutely obliterated. And I was kind of interested to see that Hanayo fans don't really seem to like Maki whatsoever. And then for Nico, there's definitely a considerable drop in that as well. Rin does a little better, but I wouldn't say it's a huge correlation, but a small correlation. Hanayo Fans don't seem like Umi or Eli as well, but they seem to like Kotori a little bit more. And of course, yes, there is a considerable uptake in Prontome based on Hanayo Fans. For Aqours, Hanamar does extremely well. She improves by a lot here, by 1.1, which is a pretty big jump, especially considering we're not filtering out votes here. So there is definitely a lot of fans who are Hanayo fans who like Hanamaru. So that is absolutely a correlation. The next best was Ruby, and I consider Ruby a bit of an underdog, so it seems to be filling that category for her as well. And based on underdogs, I definitely think that's part of the equation potentially for Aqours. And we get to see that Shannon gets a bit of a boost, nothing crazy, but I would say yes, there seems to be a correlation with Hanayo fans. They like that a little bit more. In terms of Nijigaku, we get to see that Emma is the most improved. So yes, she is liked, one of the green colored girls. And you look at Shiriko, that's not really the case. So I wouldn't draw a huge trend based on green colored girls, but it's more of the roles and the colors just happen to line. So especially in terms of underdogs, we get to see that it does work for Emma, but I would consider I and Kanon also underdogs, but I think it kind of got a little worse overall. Yeah, so that. And of course, Quartz did the best, but nothing drastic, but I figured that's probably the closest kind of group we have towards them. Maybe Asuna as well. And in terms for Liella, Sumine was the green colored girl, so that kind of kills the trend of green mostly. Kiniko is probably the closest character, and you can see she improved the most based on Hanayo Fans. So in terms of that, we definitely noticed some kind of trends for that. And from what I'm saying, first year seemed to be like a little bit better by Hanayo Fans. So in terms of qualities, the notable thing is collaborations were a little down, unofficial content went a little up, but otherwise it's pretty similar in terms of those kind of stuff. In terms of demographics, if you like Hanayo, you're more likely to be a female than male. There's a considerable drop in that. In terms of groups, seems like you like Liella a little bit more than the average, but Aqours is still the favorite. That's kind of expected. And then for year rankings, there is a considerable uptake for first years if you tend to like Hanayo. And then last but not least, favorite color, it's green. So green does seem to play a little bit of a factor, and you tend to like blue less. So to summarize, yes, chances are you're going to like Rin. Hanamaru, you very likely to like if you like Hanayo. Green image color girls, not really. It's kind of maybe, but not really. First years, generally, yes. You definitely like the group that she's part of, and Shannon a little bit more. Higher pitched voices, I don't know, I kind of saw it, yes. And for underdogs, yeah, you tend to like underdogs a little more, but I don't know if that's necessarily a big factor on why you vote them. Just rather, the kind of personality that Hanayo has isn't necessarily popular, so you tend to, if you tend to like Hanayo, you tend to like that kind of character, and that kind of character usually falls a little flat. So that's kind of why I feel like maybe, but I don't know if a lot of people are going to like them just because they tend to be in the bottom of rankings. So now we're going to move on to leader Honoka, and of course the big question for Honoka fans that we want to know is, do they tend to like other leaders? So Chika, Ayumu, Kanon, most of them of course being orange haired, but one of them is not. So that's why it's a little different. And we're going to also look for big eaters as well as second years, and orange in general, as well as orange image color girls. So for Muse, and then I looked at it, everybody actually got worse overall in the averages when I only looked at the top of for Honoka, which is kind of interesting. So there isn't really a big correlation. If you like Honoka, you don't really care about the other ones. Kotori was the least disimproved, I guess, the way to put it, for that. And then Hanayo. So it looks like if you like Honoka, you like Hanayo, and Kotori, so you like Brontoms, I guess. And you could say Hanayo is a little bit of a big eater. But the worst would be Nozomi, and Umi and Maki follow right afterwards. For Aqours, yes, you like Chika more. And there is a noticeable improvement with a minus 0.9-ish. So it's clear to see that if you like Honoka, you're probably going to like Chika. And there are more similarities that they have than compared to most other girls. So it kind of does make sense, because they do share a decent amount of things And if you like one, you probably like the other. That's just kind of how it is. And of course, she has orange hair. Looks like, yes, you're going to also like Chika as well. The least improved would be, or for worse, it's you don't tend to like Kanon, Hanamaru, and Yoshiko as much as the rest. In terms of Nijigaku, we see that, yes, you like Ayumu. It looks like a very, very, very clear trend. If you like the leaders, one of the leaders, you're probably like the other leaders. Ayumu is the most improved by 1.2. That is a huge improvement towards her average. So liking her definitely does help. In terms of image color, is orange-ish kind of, but we clearly see there isn't really a correlation to that whatsoever. And there seems to be improvement for Setna, but not for characters like Kanon. But it looks like you got a big boost as well. We can consider her a very important character. And then last but not least, Liella. Yes, Kanon is the most popular, but she got another big boost by Honoka Fans. Minus 0.8 on top of her domination. She gets to dominate even harder. Like, my goodness, 2.4. So yes, if anything's clear, if you like Honoka, you like orange hair girls, you like the leaders, probably more of a leader thing. But my goodness, it is so apparently obvious. This is one of the most obvious conclusions that I can draw. You, as Honoka fans, don't seem to like Chiki as much, as well as Ren and Sumina. So then, what qualities do people prioritize most? Well, it looks like looks in cards are slightly less important to Honoka fans. That's the only thing I really saw. You tend to be more likely to be a male if you like Honoka and you're kind of the 21 to 25 year olds. And for group rankings, you like Muse a little bit more, but you still obviously are very likely to be an Aqours fan. And for year rankings, if Honoka's your top, you tend to like second years more. There definitely seems to be a common trend. And last but not least, yes, you tend to like orange a little bit more than average, and blue to be second, and you don't tend to like red. So, do Honoka fans tend to like other leaders? Yes, it's abundantly obvious. It is definitely a correlation you can draw. If you like one, you tend to like the others because they serve very similar roles. Yes, there's some different elements, slightly different personalities, but if you like one of them, you're probably like the others just because that's kind of how it works. As for big eaters, I didn't really see a correlation. Second years, yes, that's just kind of a, in general kind of thing. And origin comic goes, yes, mainly because they're all leaders as well. Next up, we have Kotori Minami. So of course there are definitely a few questions that I would like to be answered, but there were some questions that you guys specifically answered that I'll go over. So the first thing that comes up, they asked is, how about childhood friends? Kotori is a childhood friend of Honoka, so we'll definitely ask that. And on top of that, we also have Kotori be kind of a girly girl, so we're going to see if those also is another factor. So we have those, and the most equivalent character you could probably say Kotori would be is kind of Yo Watanabe. So I'm going to curious to see if you like Kotori, do you like Yo Watanabe? On top of that, we're going to ask, do Kotori fans like Honoka? And of course, the fact that her image color is gray, does that mean if you like Kotori, you tend to like gray a little bit more? So let's take a look at that. So first up, we have the poll for Muse, and we're going to see that the character that improves a little the most would be Hanayo. People still don't like Hanayo in general, but that is definitely the one that's gone up the most. The second most would be Honoka, but it's not that much of an improvement. So Kotori fans like Honoka just a tad bit more than the average, but this is not something I would say would be significant. They don't like Maki. There's definitely a big drop in Maki, as well as Umi and Eli. So those are definitely noticeable for there. And in terms of sub-units, you generally, if one of your favorite characters, means you're probably like the sub-unit a little bit more on average, so Bantam gets a little of a boost. For Aqours, the character that they like the most is going to be Hanamaru, and there is a bit of improvement, nothing drastic. The biggest improvement goes to Ruby, who of course was the worst in Aqours in the average poll, but in terms of this one, she gets a considerable boost. No, I'm not entirely sure what the relationship that we can draw from it, but that's definitely one of the cases. Do Kotori fans like Yo? It's about the same. There's not a real correlation that we see. Yo's still the second favorite, but it's only a slight improvement overall for Kotori. And for gray color girls, the Yoshiko actually drops a bit. So maybe not. And then when we look at another gray color girl, we have Mia. Kind of Rina, not really. She's more of a white kind of deal. But for Mia, we kind of have that platinum kind of color. You can see that there is not an improvement in terms of the girls that like Mia Taylor. So for Kotori and Mia Taylor. But in terms of the most improved, we have Ayumu. So I'm not sure what the big relation is there. I guess they're both second years. And then we also have Emma and Shizuku. The characters disimproved the most is Shihiriko, Kanon, and Mia. As for Liella, we have Kinoko being the most improved. And the second most improved would be Natsumi. And then Chisato. The ones that were dropped the most would be Sumire, Shiki, and Kanon. As for the childhood friend, we would have Chisato. And you kind of see there is some improvement there, but overall, it doesn't seem like there's a huge relationship that we can draw from childhood friends, one for the other, because it's not really the fact that they're childhood friends that it seems why do people like them. It's more of the roles and personality. So going over some of the more general results, we got the qualities. Nothing significant change in terms of qualities that people care about for Kotori. In terms of the demographics, you're more likely to be a female compared to the average if you like Kotori. And then for the groups, Nijigaku was the one that got the slight boost here. Not a drastic amount, but it's a slight boost, I guess. In terms of year rankings, again, it follows a trend. If you like Kotori, chances are you like second years more. And then for the favorite color, the most that improved was going to be pink. But gray was second, so I guess that's kind of noticeable, and blue fell the most. So overall, do Kotori fans tend to like the friendly leader? Not really. It kind of is, kind of not. And when I look specifically for Yo Watanabe, there really doesn't seem to be a big correlation. It still stays about the average. If you like Kotori, do you like the other girly girls? Well, Ayumu is one of those girly girls, I guess. But I'm not really seeing a whole big trend for that. And Kotori fans don't necessarily like Honoka more than average. And for gray image color girls, not a big factor that it seems. So overall, I wasn't able to draw a whole lot of relationships in terms of fans of Kotori versus what I thought they would like. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of trends for those. Next up, we have Maki Nishikino, and of course, there are a few questions that I was curious to see if were true. So, first and foremost, there were some characters that share a lot of similarities, such as Riko and Mei. They both got red hair, and they both play piano, so they share a lot of similarities, so I'm curious to see if you like Maki, do you tend to like those girls more? As well as you for piano players, so if it's just a piano thing, and any girl that has a red image color to see if red plays a big factor in why people might like Maki. So first and foremost for Muse, we still have, of course, Hanayo being in last and Maki being in first. But in terms of the most improved, we see Ellie get most improved here. So if you like Maki, you probably like Ellie. And then past that, the next closest was Umi, but she kind of got a little bit worse. So I guess it's still a dream combo. And of course, if you like Maki, chances are you're going to like BB a little bit more. Characters you tend to like a lot less, Hanayo, as well as Rin and Nozomi. Those characters don't seem to be there. In terms of Maki like Nico, not really a relation there. Now going to Aqours, the course question is, do Maki fans like Riko? And the answer is, yes, there is actually a considerable improvement, although Yoshiko's the one actually got the most improvement. So Maki fans definitely do like Yoshiko the most, but even more so than the average. And Yo also receives a considerable boost as well. So it looks like that's the kind of girls that Maki fans tend to like. So yes, Riko gets a boost. Daya gets a little push back. She is a red image color girl, but it looks like red isn't always the most important factor in terms of characters you like, and Ruby falls down the most in this group. For Nijigaku, we get to see that Setsuna is the favorite, and she gets a considerable boost. So she does have the red image color. So that definitely helps a lot. And she's just a general favorite, but definitely Maki fans overlap a bit with Setsuna fans here. In terms of least improved, we definitely get to see Kasumi fall pretty hard. For you, she is a piano player, and we get to see that yes, there is a decent improvement in terms of fans for Maki and for you. So looks like piano elements do play a bit of a role. And second most improved would be Shiriko. Again, something in the first years, but that seems to be what more or less the trend is here. For Liella, we get to see that Mei does get a bit of an improvement, but nothing crazy drastic. So again, it looks like there is some overlap there, but not as much as some of the other ones. But we definitely get to see that yes, there definitely seems to be a correlation between maybe red image color girls minus the dye situation, but especially the girls that play piano. That definitely seems to be a part of the aspect of why people might like Maki. But in terms of the most improved is actually Sumine, interestingly enough. Not sure what the relation is there. And the least improved would be Kinako. So in terms of the other statistics, I didn't really see anything that was too drastically changed in terms of qualities that Maki fans like to see. In terms of demographics, yes, males do like Maki. And it's definitely females who don't care as much for Maki. And then for the group rankings, no huge change. Liella got a slight bump in terms of Liella fans, but Aqours, of course, still the favorites. And for year rankings, believe it or not, second years are still the favorite for Maki fans to their first year, so that's definitely different, but there isn't a huge change in there. And for color, the favorite color is still blue, but red is the most improved, so definitely Maki fans tend to like red a little bit more than the average. So overall, do Maki fans tend to like Rico? Yes. May seems like it, but not like a massive correlation, I would say. Maki fans tend to like the piano players, so if they have someone who plays piano, chances are they're going to like it if they're a Maki fan. Red image color girls, yeah, there definitely seems to be a bit of a correlation, but it didn't work for Daya. And do Maki fans like Nico? There isn't really a correlation. They like her a little less than the average, so not really at all. And no drastic improvement in terms of Nico whatsoever. Speaking of Nico, let's take a look on hers. So there's two main questions that I wanted to be answered for Nico. So the first one is, well, the counterpart of Maki like Nico, do Nico fans like Maki? And of course, the other question is, well, this one was specifically worried about one of you guys. Do Nico fans like other gremlins? So Yoshiko, Kasumi, Sumine, Natsumi. You know, the kind of ones that you find a little bit more mischievous or kind of the goofy kind of character. So we'll definitely see if those kind of characters are also liked by Nico fans. So first and foremost, we'll jump to the Muse poll. So the one that had the best in terms of the change would be Maki, although literally there was no improvement for anybody. If you're a Nico fan, I'm kind of like Nico, and everyone else just kind of falls to the wayside. So no one else actually kind of improved. So it's kind of like, I guess Nico fans still like Maki, just not as much as Nico. But she was the second best in terms of the difference, which was still a bad difference. So that was definitely kind of interesting to see. But you definitely don't like Ellie if you're a Nico fan. And of course you like BB as well. In terms of Aqours, the best is Yoshiko, and there is a bit of an improvement, but it's not the most improved for Nico fans. That would actually be Ruby. But yes, you still very much do like Yoshiko, and that looks like, at least for Yoshiko, the gremlin part keeps up. The character you like the least, or the most disimproved, if that's a term, would be Kanon, as you got to see that's the one that had the worst and the most disimproved. You're also not as much of a fan for Rico as well as Yo. In terms of subunits, your favorite's still Guilty Kiss, but you see a little uptick in Shano. For Nijigaku, we have the favorite being Rina, and there is a bit of an improvement from Rina in terms for Nico fans, but the most improved would be Kasumi. Yes, the gremlin. So there definitely seems to be a correlation being built along that. In terms of the one that did the worst for Nico fans, in terms of the difference, would be Emma. As you can see, there is a bit of a disimprovement for Emma in terms for Nico fans. In terms of subunits, the most improved would be Diver Diva. Interesting. But I guess Nico's in BB, so I guess it's the closest equivalent. And last but not least, for Liella, the most improved would be Sumire, followed by Natsumi. So without a doubt, there definitely seems to be a correlation between the gremlins. If you like Nico, you're gonna like the rest of the gremlins. You know, that's kind of a role, that's her personality, and it being personality being the most dominant thing for most people, it makes sense. So if you like one, you're probably gonna like the others. We'll also get to see a little bit of look at the pink as well. Natsumi also has a pink image color. Chisato does as well, and there definitely seems to be improvement, but it doesn't seem to be the strongest correlation necessarily out there. But I definitely think if you like Nico, you like pink. But let's take a look at the other sources. Here, there wasn't a huge difference in terms of things. Unofficial content went up a little, but there's a three-way tie for this. In terms of the demographics, you definitely appeals to more of the younger audience and not so much the main audience, which is 15 to 20 year olds. In terms of the groups, there's a little bit of improvement for Nijigaku. And for the year rankings, third years got the most improved, but the favorites is still second years for Nico Fans. And for color, your favorite color is going to be pink for Nico, so that's definitely a big uptake. And definitely the one that went down the most would be purple. So overall, do Nico Fans like Maki? I guess I want to say yes. As you can see, she still got second place, but overall her average went a little worse. But I don't know, it's kind of weird to say. So I guess I want to say yes to that. In terms of other gremlins, yes, absolutely. If you like Nico, you're going to like the other gremlins because they all kind of have that kind of similar role. And people who like Nico, it's because she's kind of goofy and causes a little mayhem. So you're definitely going to like the other gremlins. For Nozomi Tojo, there are a few questions that I wanted to get answered. Do Nozomi fans like Ellie? So we already answered the counterpart to this, but how about the other way? And how about Mari? Because I definitely see there could be some overlap with Nozomi fans and Mari. How about motherly figures? Because we know Nozomi kind of plays that motherly role, at least in terms of Muse. So if someone plays a similar role, like, I don't know, like Emma Kanta probably, I was thinking. Dude, Nozomi fans didn't like that. And, I don't know, Priestess, it's not a big thing, but I don't know. Another question I could throw in there just for the lulz. So, for Muse, what do Nozomi fans like? Ellie was the one that kind of had the most, or the least disimproved, I guess, again. So she kind of got second place there, but again, you can see that the average actually didn't get better. We'd rather just the one that was affected the least. So I would kind of say yeah, but not a whole lot in terms of relationship. In terms of the ones that definitely did really bad, and that would be Honoka and Maki. If you're a Nozomi fan, you tend to like those girls a lot less. And you like Lily White if you're a Nozomi fan, makes sense. For Aqours, the one that got the most boost was Mari. That's your favorite. So there is absolutely a relationship with that. If you like Nozomi, chances are you're gonna like Mari a lot more. They both got this kind of similar color in terms of their image color, but they also kind of play a bit of a similar role. I don't know if you would call Mari kind of like the motherly figure of Aqours, but perhaps you can potentially have that argument. In terms of the ones that did the worst, well, Yo got much worse for Nozomi fans, and then after that would be Chika and Rico. As for subunits, your favorite's still going to be Guilty Kiss, but Azalea gets a little bit of a boost. For Nijigaku, their favorite would be Kanata, and Kanata absolutely kind of has that motherly figure, so I definitely see why Nozomi fans could definitely like Kanata. But second most approved would be Emma, so it looks like I would be right for saying that chances are if you're going to like Nozomi, you're going to like other characters that kind of play that role, the ones that kind of watch over the other girls and such. And of course, and just, you know, the third years in general. That definitely seems to be the better relationship in terms of that. The one that got the worst would be Setsuna. She dropped the most in terms of this, but past that would be Shizuku and Yu and Ayumu. And in terms of subunits, of course, is still the favorite. For Liella, the one that fell the most would be Kanon, but is still the favorite overall. She still dominates, but the most improved would be Shiki, then followed by Kineko and Kuku. In terms of who would be the most similar and motherly figure, I really wasn't sure. So I don't know a whole lot of relations that you can draw between Nozomi and some girls in here. So you can take it as you will. But you get to see that Ren and Chisato are the ones that did the worst for Nozomi fans in terms of the average of differences. So then, past this, we're going to go ahead and move on to the other pieces of information. I didn't see a whole lot of differences in terms of the qualities that Nozomi fans cared about, in terms of the overall, in terms of the demographics. The other one group seemed good, but basically males are not as big as a fan as Nozomi. In terms of the group rankings, looks like Aqours gets a little bit of a boost and Liella goes a little down. So Aqours the favorite still. And in terms of the year rankings, there's definitely a considerable boost in terms of third years. If you like Nozomi, your chances are you're going to like third years in general. And in terms of color, purple receives a boost, and yes, because Nozomi's image color is going to be purple, and blue drops the most. So, do Nozomi fans tend to like Ellie? I didn't see a huge relation. I guess you could say yes, potentially. For Mari, yes, there definitely seems to be a relation. If you like Nozomi, you're going to probably like Mari. And if you like Nozomi, your chances are you're going to like other girls that have that kind of motherly figure role in the anime. In terms of priestess, no, not really. There wasn't really any relation with Sumida and Nozomi that I could see whatsoever. Next up, we have Rin. So there are a few questions we want to know to see what do Rin fans tend to like. So first and foremost, we had tomboyish girls. So girls basically that exhibit a little more male-like characteristics, and that will be for like Yo, Kanon, Rin, and Mia. So do Rin fans tend to like those kind of characters, as well as athletic girls? You know, Rin can be athletic, so maybe girls like and then cat-related. I wasn't really sure how to word it, so basically any girls that have to do anything to do with cats, you know, if there's symbols like that, they tend to like cats a lot. And of course, do Rin fans like Hanayo? So let's go ahead and jump to Muse. So for Muse, there will be the most improved, that's also not Rin, will be Hanayo. So yes, Rin fans tend to like Hanayo, and Hanayo fans tend to like Rin. So they kind of have that duo together. So if you like one chancer, you kind of like the other. The next one would be Nico. So not sure the relationship is there, but you know, that's one next. And as Rin fans, you tend to not like Ellie, and I think that's true vice versa. So there definitely seems to be kind of a disagreement between Rin and Ellie fans. And then next would be Kotori and then Maki. And then of course the favorite some of you would be Lily White, because that would make sense. She's in Lily White. For Aqours, we got to see that the first place will be going to Hanamaru, and that is the most improved. So of course there's a lot of relationships that we can definitely see with Rin and Hanamaru. Hanamaru literally looked at Rin as kind of an example in why she got in. And you know, Hanamaru definitely can be feel a little more tomboyish in one way. You know, as well, shows up kind of in that tomboyish section as well. And you can see that she was the second most improved in terms of the average differences. The one that doesn't follow that would be Kanon. She did obviously the worst in terms of the average difference. Then followed by Daya and Nico. The favorite, some of you know, will be Guilty Kiss, and Shannon will be the second most improved. Or most improved, actually. And for Nijigaku, we get to see that Rina is the favorite and most improved here. And we can definitely see there are some basic similarities that we have there. I mean, you can't spell Rina without Rin, right? But on top of that, you know, she does have that little cat characteristics. You know, she plays with the cats. So does I, and as well as you can see third place in terms of the most improved. And then Mia also shows up with a tomboyish and seeing a decent amount of improvement as well. So we definitely get to see that if you like Rin, your chancer, you're going to have your opinion improved on Mia, as well as Rina. And then we got to go jump to Liella. The favorite's still Kanon. There's a slight drop. The most drop would be Ren, and the most improved would be Chisato. Now Chisato is definitely probably the most athletic out of these girls. That's about the main relation we can draw from here. If we want to focus on girls that have yellow, Kinako it is, and she got the third most improved, with the second most improved being Mei. So that's the basic idea of what I can draw from these girls. Sumida got a bit worse, and Kanon got a bit worse, but you know, Kanon's still first overall, because a lot of people seem to like Kanon a lot. So now jumping to the other statistics, there wasn't a whole lot different here in terms of the qualities. That's just kind of a trend. In terms of the demographics, females tend to like Rin more, and the target demographic seems to really like it with the teenagers. The favorite group is still Aqua, but Muse definitely seems a little bit of a bump, but nothing too drastic that I can see. And of course, in further years, we actually have second years being the favorite. With first years definitely seeing a bit of a bump, but just not enough to make first years the favorite. And for favorite color, pink actually receives most of a bump. Yellow goes a bit up, and blue goes down the most. So overall, what do we get to see here? Do Rin Fans tend to like tomboyish girls? The answer is yes. We definitely see quite a trend. Athletic girls, mostly, you know, Kanon's kind of the one outlier that kind of ruins a lot of these relationships that I see. So athletic girls, I don't know if I can draw a great relationship with that, but I would say kind of. Cat-related girls, yes, I see that with, you know, Rina and I and such, and Mei, who also has the cat symbol, and then Rin Fans do like Hanayo. And finally, last but not least, in Muse, we have Umi. So the questions I have is, well, do you like her best friends Honoka and Kotori? How about Daya? They kind of play a similar role. How about Ren? Also, I could see kind of similar roles. Sumine, because you can't spell Sumine without Umi. And the blue image color girls, because, you know, blue. So first and foremost, for Muse, we get to see that the LA gets a slight improvement and also has the blue color. And then next would be Maki, so I guess soldier game, right? So those are the ones that definitely really stand out, and you know, especially in terms of deeper voices, those also do tend to line up as well. In terms of the ones that definitely got the worst, Nico fell a lot more, and then it will be Hanayo and Nozomi. So definitely, I can see this being one of the battle of deeper voices versus low, higher pitched voices. And of course, for some reasons, Lily White did the best. For Aqours, we get to see that the favorite is still Yoshiko, but it didn't change that much in terms of the average. Then we get to see Yo doing a little better in terms of average, but not a drastic amount. The most improved would be Rico, who got third place. And I'm not fully sure about the relation, although, you know, Rico kind of was one of the ones that took a little more convincing to join in terms of second years. But that's kind of the main thing. And then the next improved would be Daya. So I guess we could say yes, Umi fans tend to like Daya a little bit more than the average. Then moving on to the next group, we have Nijigaku. And we get to see that Shizuku is the third most improved. We get to see that help her out. And Kanon improved a little bit. Yeah, you know, Umi fans still don't tend to like Kanon that much. But we get to see there definitely seems to be a relationship with Blue helping out. The favorite and most improved is Setsuna Yuki. Setsuna Yuki is very, very popular for sure. And again, deeper voices seem to probably help, especially if you're a fan of Umi. In terms of the sum units, we get to see that Rebirth is actually the favorite out of Umi fans and improved a little bit. And then it would be Quartz. Quartz still second, but took a pretty big hit in terms of the sub units for these girls. And for Liella, the most improved would be Ren. So looks like we definitely see that Umi fans tend to like Ren a little bit more. And yes, they both got the blue color, but I think this is kind of all the similar role that they kind of play. We also have Sumine get a bit of an improvement, nothing drastic, but yes, it looks like Umi fans tend to like Sumine a little bit more. Not a drastic amount, but again, you can't spell Sumine without Umi, right? Totally, very important. And then Cuckoo, which kind of has a blue color, there was a slight disimprovement, but nothing drastic, so not a huge relationship there, but usually blue, dark blue tends to do well for Umi fans. In terms of the qualities, nothing that I saw that was drastically changed as normal. Males tend to like Umi, the others not as much for the demographics. And then for the groups, Aqua was the favorite, but there was not a huge shift here in terms of the years. Second years did the best and improved a decent amount. And yes, the blue is favorite color for Umi fans who saw that coming. But overall, do Umi fans tend to like Honoka Kotori? They kind of did a little worse. But they definitely tend to like Daya, which plays a similar role. And Ren as well, similar role, and also has that blue color. Sumine, yeah, it's a little bit. I know, I just jokingly put in there. I was just curious to see if that was the case. And it is a bit of the case. But, you know, I thought it would just be funny to just check. Clearly, I'm running out of ideas. And last but not least, we have blue image color girls. Yes, there definitely seems a relationship. Chances are, if you like Umi, you're gonna like other girls that tend to have that blue image color, because you know, it looks like overall I'm definitely seeing a trend that your favorite color definitely could shape who you like. And chances are, if there's a girl you like, and on top of that they have your favorite color or be their image color, it definitely seems to help out overall. So in this case, blue definitely means that we see a relationship between Umi as well as a bunch of other girls. And last but not least, I have this graphic that I put together for you guys. So I have it characterized by each character. So the way to look at this is, for example, we can look at the Honoka section. There's two sections, the ranked 1 to 3 and more favor. The ranked 1 to 3, this basically are the favorite characters depending on if Honoka was your favorite character. For example, if Honoka was your top 3, then your next favorites would be Umi, Maki, and Kotori, or it's also proven to show that you like Chika, Yo, or Yoshiko. On the bottom, it's the more favorite section. So more or less, if one of your favorites is like Honoka, then it also shows that you can likely to rank these girls in the section a lot higher. I basically took anything that was minus 0.3 or better, so it showed a considerable improvement. So sometimes some characters didn't really have a whole lot of improvement, or sometimes they had more than 3, but I only showed the top 3. So for example, if you take a look at this, you can see if you like Honoka, chances are you're going to like Chika. That's kind of what it shows. It doesn't mean necessarily that character is in your top in general for everybody, but it shows there is a considerable boost for that character. And now I'm going to go explain how do I do this Google Sheet thing, because I'm sure some of you are curious to see how that works. So I have opened this sheet up with an account that doesn't have as much access to edit. So basically the situation that you guys are going to be in. So this is the poll here, and we got the 3 different tabs. This is the general tab that I showed you guys. This is just all the raw data, and then we have the single character one, which I talked about before. So simply here, what you want to do is you can go click on one of these and then give it a few seconds, and then it will update the rest of the data. So it'll take a little bit of time, especially depending on your internet connection and whatnot. But this is how you're going to see, oh, if the top 3 was Maki, you know, what are the results going to be. So especially if you want to know the ones for like Aqours going ahead of time, you can do that. I've only did Muse because, you know, this video is actually over an hour long, and that's it's taking a long time, but I can do this for Aqours if you guys care to see that later. For right now, I'm just doing Muse because, my god, it takes a lot. And I feel like a lot of this data would be similar once, and you kind of get the idea of the trends and whatnot. But that's more or less how you guys do it. Keep in mind that I can only have one of these things here, so chances are you'll see a bunch of people kind of showing up towards this section here if multiple people are on the sheet at the same time. So if one person selects it, you know, it might mess with someone else. So how do you get around that? Because if 5 people are in at the same time, you know, then they all have the ability to change what's going on here. So what I would recommend is make a copy of it. So you can hit the file, make a copy, and this will save it in your Google Drive. Keep in mind you have to be logged in with a Google account. Then you can save it to your drive, and then when you save it into your drive, it'll open up a copy of this, and then you can manipulate as much as you want without having to deal with anyone else. Technically, you could delete cells and whatnot. I recommend not doing that because that doesn't really help accomplish what you want, but you can do what you want, I guess, if you make your own copy of this. But you guys should be able to do that, I believe. If not, then let me know. But if you guys want to answer some questions that you didn't see me necessarily answer, you can always go ahead and check out for yourself. Not too difficult. If you really want to see, like, oh, my absolute favorite character is, I don't know, Setsunyuki. I'm curious to see what trends are for her. You can simply just go and click on the link in the description for this. Or if not, make your own copy from this. When you click in the description, you just got to be signed into a Google account. But then you'll be able to see it and look at your heart's content and see what are trends there might be there. Like, for Setsunyuki, males really like Setsunyuki and whatnot. And of course, here are the demographics of the viewers for those who are interested to see the breakdowns of the groups that people belong to. And of course, thank you to all the people who participated in this poll. There were a lot of people participating in this poll, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I've tried to do something more like this in the future. We'll have to see, but I do really appreciate all who did participate. And of course, thank you to YouTube members like CoolMax for supporting this channel. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it a lot. And there was a lot of comments. and I didn't feel like trying to post a bunch of them in here with a bunch of screenshots, so I just took a video and scrolled through all of them. So if you put a comment in there, here you go. Too many for me to go through. So you know what, I put them all in there because I'm not going through all that. I'm a little lazy. But yeah, anyways, that would be it for this video. So thank you guys for watching, especially those who probably, if any of you watched all this, I even need to do that. That's an hour of a lot of statistics. So let me know what you guys think about this and what I can do to improve this. I think the biggest takeaway is probably these infographics that I try to put all the way at the end. I just think it looks nice, and it really breaks down the information pretty quickly and gives a lot of people some generalization. But if you guys really did enjoy this, let me know. I can do this for Aqours, Nijigaku, and Liella. Just, I feel like you guys pretty much get the idea, but if you really want to see it, you know, let me know. It's, you know, if this gets a lot of views and likes, then I can definitely consider doing it again. I'm just I want to keep making a bunch of hour-long videos for this because it's really cumbersome. But do let me know what you guys liked about this video in the comments below, and of course, what did you think about the data and what kind of trends that I'm seeing from here. And of course, if you analyze it yourself, what trends are you seeing, and if you are in some of these trends, you know, let me know, because I'm curious to see if you guys do fall in those trends. Because, you know, for example, if you really do like Honoka a lot, do you like all the other leaders? That definitely seems to be a very powerful trend that I noticed. But, you know, of course, this is just a generalization, but it definitely shows what kind of characters people like, depending if they like some of our characters. But, you know, I just thought this was fun, and it was fun to do. Just, this takes way too long to do. But hopefully you guys did enjoy it and whatnot. I do think there is some cool stuff from this and whatnot. And I could probably do this again, but I definitely would change it a little bit to make it a little easier on the analyzation part. But, you know, well, I definitely have to look for that into the future. But let me know if you guys do want to see more of this in the future. It takes a lot of time to do this, but hopefully you guys really do enjoy it, and I hope you guys really appreciate the effort I put into this. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and of course, if you wanted to analyze it more yourself, I'll give you a link in the description for a copy of the sheet that I used, so that you could change and look to see what are other ideas that, you know, I didn't say, and you can let other people know in the comments below. And please do share this for people who are interested in, and when I can do this again at some point in the future, we can get even more interesting trends drawn based on that. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in another video soon.